How to get fractional sales consulting clients under the radar. And what I mean by under the radar is a way in which you can attract clients or prospect for clients without needing to make a bunch of noise on social media or make tons of content like shorts and stories and all the different types of content that you might see. This is perfect for someone who's brand new to the world of sales consulting and is maybe just working as a sales professional and is unsure if they have enough of a track record or reputation. This is how I first got my couple clients, and in this video I'm going to explain exactly how you can do the same. So this document here, which you should have access to, is where you got the link to this video, is a definitive guide on how to actually identify and approach and close fractional sales consulting deals once more without alerting your current offer owner of your current intentions. So you're going to see this figure A here. Now this figure here is a diagram, and when you work from the top down, it's going to guide you really through all that you need to know about going out to the market and landing clients. There's a series of questions that you're going to have to ask, that you're going to have to get answers to, and we're going to walk through some of those today. Now you can see that the purpose of this triangle, it gets denser at the bottom because the further down you go, the more value that you actually uncover. So, and in this on the right side here, you can see that this is pretty much how the process works, from defining your niche, going to help audit your success, uncover your case study, to potential clients, to giving away assets, and then eventually selling someone on you working with them, which you're selling the implementation. If you want the full image here, if you click this link, it'll take you to a Google Drive image where you can download it, save it as your wallpaper, reference it again later. So let's go ahead and talk about the full concept or the full premise. So the most important thing about going out to the market and landing fractional sales consulting deals is what I call positioning. Position is nothing more than the ability for someone to see you as credible and legitimate to work with. You have to make it clear that there's a sizable knowledge gap and or skill gap between you and your client and what you both know about their business. And what I mean by that is they have to think that you know more about their business or understand their situation better than they currently do. And the easiest way for you to achieve this as a salesperson is to put a focus on demonstrating your expertise just on sales. Don't talk too much about marketing. Don't talk too much about other things other than just what it takes to sell and close the deal, the raw and truest form of getting a conversion. If you've been a salesperson, you've probably had many moments in which you're just banging your head up against the walls to why the deal got away, what you could have done differently to close the sale. And believe me, business owners think and feel the exact same way. And that's why you're going to start from the most pivotal and most important part of business, which is the actual commerce or transaction, and work outwards from there. So in this guide and or in this video too, I'm going to explain really the three phases of this pyramid that will help you find clients, create a sizable knowledge gap large enough for someone to feel a deep desire for them to work with you. So let's talk about the preface. The first question on the pyramid here is, what products have I sold? Which is kind of the preface. It's not actually a layer. The layers kind of go below networking and resources and specific knowledge. But the first question is, what products have you sold? The best place to start is what you already know. I talk to a bunch of people and they're constantly inundated with, where exactly do I start? Where do I begin? I've never done something like this. How should I pick my niche? Well, you don't actually pick your niche. Your niche is just the places that you've already worked. So I want you to create a list here. There's some room for you. So if you make a copy of this document, write out 5 products or services that you have sold successfully. And by starting with products you already know, it's going to give you more confidence with speaking with potential clients, especially if you've never done anything like this before. Maybe you're an SDR, an appointment setter watching this. Maybe you're a first-time closer, a new closer. Maybe you're a closer who's never had an interest in consulting. Well, if you're in any one of those 3 categories, you might feel limited, a little bit of intimidation when it comes to, well, what do I say to a business owner? How do I take maybe what I'm working with now and turn that into something? So that's why we want to keep you in a ground of certainty or in an area that you already know that you can talk about, which is just the actual product and the thing you've sold yourself. So now that you've actually listed out a few products, continue reading or continue watching this video, and we're going to define or get clear on what kind of companies you should approach. So coming to the next layer here, you're going to see once you have products defined, we want to go through your network and find potential clients that match the products that you've sold. So to find clients or potential clients without creating too much attention, you must be a sniper in contacting either people you know who sell similar products or finding people who are part of companies or business owners that sell similar products to the ones you've sold before. So I want you to create 2 lists that meet the following criteria. Write out 5 people that you know personally. That could be in your contact list, they could be in your Facebook, they could be in your Instagram following, maybe your Snapchat if you still use that, or your Twitter. 5 people that you might know personally who are currently working for or selling a product that you have sold before. Now, you cannot, there's one disclaimer, this cannot be for people who are working for a company that you previously sold for. So if I was selling coaching, showing people how to buy and sell businesses, I could go out there to companies and contact, or maybe I know people who are selling it, which I do, but I can't go to the company I used to work for that used to sell training on buying businesses. So write out 5 of those just to start. And then if you can't come up with 5, or you have a hard time coming up with 5, you're then going to progress to the second list, which is profiles of business owners or businesses that are selling products similar to the one that you have sold before. And the reason being is we're going to contact them. Now, don't just write out the name of the business. You need to get the specific contact of the person you want to reach, their personal profile, their Instagram, their Facebook. Don't just look for the company name unless they run the company account as their kind of personal. Cool. Once you've defined your network, coming back up here, we're then going to want to begin giving away scripts and giving away resources and or your lead magnets, really, for lack of better words. So congratulations, you've defined your niche. Your niche are just the people who are listed here. Your niche is not going to be static. It's not going to only be one type of product. It's going to be all the products you've sold before, because any of those businesses are qualified for your help. So once you do that, you want to create resources that you'll use to make the first contact with potential clients. So to be most effective, give people things that they can use. Resources that work best are those that offer emotions of clarity and or progress, and you can transform seemingly mundane things or daily things that you used to something that others see value in. And what I mean by that is you want to give somebody something that's tangible, something that's tactical, something they can use and be like, oh my God, this makes sense. It brings clarity to my situation, or it gives me something new to try. Exactly like this document that you're consuming right now in this training. This document is something tactical. It's something for you to try to go out there and get a result. That's what people want, the feeling of progress. Now, how you can go about these and create these is just gather the things that you already have. So I want you to go back through your Google Drives, through your company accounts, whatever you have, or backtrack, look at old Zoom recordings. You want to collect as many sales scripts for products that you have sold before. So remember the list we made earlier, products you've sold, create a collection of those scripts. Then you want to get a collection of the sales presentations, meaning the actual pitch that you are giving to people. Now, the difference between the script and the pitch, unless you're a sales rep that are not really mechanical in what you do, where you might just pitch a bit differently each time, then you want to do your best to actually take the time to write out or transcribe an actual pitch. Now, the reason why that's valuable is the difference between a good presentation and a bad presentation, well, is whether or not someone buys the product. And so some people do a really bad job at selling services. Example, I've coached plenty of people through my own sales coaching that I've created, of people who sell agency services. And I have a very specific way I like to present agency services that works very well for me and my clients, but it is genuinely, it is different. It is very different than a lot of the stuff that's out there. You see people have 3-pillar packages or 3-tier plans or want to do month to month. I have a specific strategy on that gets better conversion. So if you have something like that, write it out. The other thing you want to collect is sample call recordings of you actually using the script and the presentation to get somebody to buy. If you have that, that is golden. And the reason being is that when you give somebody a sales script and call recordings of a deal being closed using the process that you gave them, it instantly becomes credible because the work proves itself. The same way that you can see if someone's a best-selling author by how many book sales they have is the same way they can see that what you're giving them is legit by the results that it produced. And so you want to package all of that up in just one kind of clean and concise manner. And if you need a sample of what this looks like, I've given you exactly what I gave my first client that signed me for $10,000 a month. This is exactly what I sent them. So this was a company I used to work for, acquisitions.com. You can look them up. But I gave them this. This was my old sales script. And in here, I attached some sample sales calls. I'm using the exact same presentation that I gave here, the exact same script. And this is the whole thing, the connecting phase, the problem awareness, the solution awareness. In here, there's a very specific acquire, a very specific nuanced frame that I put in. I have a couple nuanced things I do here as far as scripting. So don't copy this. Definitely don't copy this. People will know if you were copying somebody else's work, but make sure it's something that's yours and authentic. Now, once you actually have your resources together, collect as many of them as you can. Maybe pause this video and go do that right now. But once that's all gathered, you then want to begin approaching people that you listed above. And I've given you some sample scripts that you can use as your opener. One of which is, hey, I know we haven't met yet, so this is for a business owner you haven't spoken to. Hey, we know we haven't met yet, but saw you sell something I'm familiar with. Would you be curious to have the scripts, CRM flow, sample calls that I used to sell, dollar amount of a similar product? And by dollar amount, just say how much you sold in the whole time you were there. If you were there for 5 months and sold $500,000 worth, if you're there for 5 months and sold $100,000 worth, just say you want to get the scripts that I used to sell $100,000 of something just like it. That's a no-brainer offer for somebody. Wait for them to say yes. When they say yes, send them the document. There's some tips that I'll give you in a moment. Here's another one for maybe someone who's in your network or a salesperson who's working for an offer. Hey, I used to sell something similar. Any interest in what's more the sample scripts of other successful people from successful offer/business like yours? So hey, here's my scripts from selling business buying services. Are you any hey, I used to sell something similar. Any interest in my scripts that I used to sell business buying for XYZ company? Most likely it's a yes. People love to see their competitors. People love to see what that next person is doing or using. So depending on how well you know the person you're messaging, Be as direct or indirect as you're comfortable with. The difference between direct is just saying, hey, do you want this? Indirect is just kind of being, hey, if you're, this is something that I have, you can introduce yourself more, do a bit of a longer intro, do a bit of a shorter intro. So once they respond with a yes, and you want to set this up, you don't just give it to them. Ask them a question if they want it first. Get them to give you a true gauge on intent. Once they give you that yes, just send them the script. Nothing else is really needed. If you want to, tack on a message that says, if you have any questions, let me know. Be happy to get on Zoom and kind of answer anything you've got. But first thing you can do is just send them the documents and tell them that if they'd like more insights on how to sell effectively, you're happy to get on a Zoom call and offer value. Hey, here's the script. If you have any questions, I can send my calendar and we can set up a time. Or hey, if you have any questions, let me know. Or hey, if you want to do a mock call of it, let me know. Something very indirect just kind of alludes to getting on a Zoom and talking to them, but you don't have to be that hard out the gate with it. Now, do not apply any form of sales pressure to get them to re-engage with you, meaning, hey, do you want to get on Zoom? Just bumping this up. Hey, did you check it out? You don't want to really necessarily be that aggressive in your follow-up. Business owners and salespeople are salespeople, and business owners are marketers. They know when they're being sold to. You want them to genuinely have interest and intent. The more actual interest and intent that they have, the easier it will be for you to potentially land them as a client, because a lot of people don't have desire. A lot of people don't have urgency. Sometimes they want to check it out and try it out themselves and get punched in the face, and then they'll come full circle. So give it with the expectation that you'll get nothing back. But if you sent them something that's truly valuable, or if they actually have interest, they will almost always take you up on your offer to speak to you and get on Zoom. Now, I want to give you some pro tips that are going to help make this second phase much easier for you. So the first tip, is just like my sample above, make your resources presentable. Add the logo of the original company your resources are from, and it makes your scripts look more professional. So a lot of scripts that companies give are just a mess of things, a mess of words slammed all over a page. Throw a logo, give it a header, attach your calls, clean up the pages, remove a bunch of excess or random things that are on there. If you have just miscellaneous links, pull that all off, make it look really clean and professional. Okay, pro tip number 2, if you don't actually have sales call recordings or sales scripts, you can offer the following to potential clients as well. So if you have any pre-call emails or flows or sequences that you wrote or that you used to use, copy those into a Google Doc. If you have any digital sales resources that you've used, this could be the sheets that the company had you send invoices through. It could be the sales tracker that you were using. It could have been the dashboards that the company was using to kind of monitor numbers and metrics. Make a copy of those, potentially offer those. Workflows of the previously used CRM build. So if they were using Go High Level, remember how Go High Level was built, the different forms, the different things that they were collecting information on, the different surveys, the applications, maybe the data they got from the funnel. Take a screenshot of all that or write it down to the best of your ability and maybe create a workflow or like a Miro board explaining what it should look like. Create a doc, or if you know the whole funnel of the business itself, just create a doc complaining all the funnel steps that the previous company was using and how they all connected together. Make it valuable. You almost want to make it a business in a box for this person that you're offering to. Pro tip number 3, don't offer more than one resource at a time. If you want to follow up with somebody, if you just give them the sales script, just give them the sales script. If you don't hear from them, maybe after 7 days, then message them, oh, here's the settings script if you have the settings script, or hey, here's the follow-up email flow, or hey, here's the invoicing sheet that they had us use. To re-engage them, don't necessarily ask them if they want to get on Zoom with you. Don't ask them directly. It's important that you just collect as many resources as you can and just keep drip feeding those to them. Just keep putting value in front of them and they will eventually want to reciprocate. They will eventually hear what you have to offer. They'll eventually wonder what you want. They'll feel like they'll owe you something. Pro tip number 4, you want to keep expanding your list and contact more people as you progress. Do this consistently until you are getting Zoom calls. So just because you put down 10 people here doesn't necessarily mean they'll all be bang on. Some of them will. I've had students in the actual, full stack fractional sales consulting who get deals in less than 30 days because it's a 1 of 2. They essentially take a shot at 2 deals or 3 deals and they get it. Some people are coming in a bit colder, but if you're not getting the response that you want, just keep casually collecting people and moving across the industry and find new businesses. Okay, moving into phase 3, specific knowledge. So almost nothing in life comes without having a holistic understanding of how to achieve what you want. This is why people value experience so much. It's also why we progress. It's also why we want to progress potential clients to Zoom so we can offer them insight on how to use what we gave them most effectively. What I mean by this is you couldn't have learned sales just by reading a book. You need to have actually spent time in the trenches and seen people do it to learn how to use it properly. If you want to build and run a good business, you couldn't learn it by reading an instruction manual. You would have need to have seen it and been a part of someone actually running it properly. And so it's the same thing for your potential client. If you gave them resources or assets, they're not necessarily going to be able to use those to the highest degree right away. So if you've done phases 1 and 2 correctly, you should begin to see potential clients or sales rep begin to ask you for their time. Hey, that looked really good. How can I learn more about this? Hey, I've got some questions. Hey, I need your advice on something. I need your input on something. This is great. That's what you want to look for. Once you're on Zoom with them, be relaxed. Don't worry about necessarily having the agenda to sell them something. Simply answer their questions questions and give them advice, and make note, tie all of your ideas and answers back to 4 core topics. How does it work? Well, the script is going to work really well because it's really tailored around understanding what your customers want to hear, and it makes it easier for you as a business and you and your team to be able to close more deals just simply because the customers understand it better. So you want to try to tie your answers back to one of 4 topics. You don't want to be robotic in this, but constantly keep referencing back to how this will benefit the business owner, how this will benefit the potential customers of the business owner, how the whole company can benefit, how this can actually benefit the team and the people like inside of his business. And when your customers are converted with a better sales script, they're just better customers because they have a better set expectations and they're more happy. And also how it can benefit the brand and marketing. If you have this style of selling, it makes people feel great. It makes them really love your brand. You have sales calls with people saying thank you for that. So, keep these as a kind of intention. Now, you don't want to be robotic in doing this, but just kind of keep it to yourself. Now, once you actually had a well-conducted conversation, just explaining what you know will separate you so far away from everybody else in the eye of this potential client. And if you sound skilled enough, eventually one of 2 things will happen. So what I mean by this too, before I go there, is like when I was with Deal and I handed them these scripts that I created, and eventually I hopped on Zoom with them and kind of talked with them a little bit about, hey, what questions do you have around this? Oh, we were just curious about your connecting. Why do you do the connecting like this and not like this other method? Well, how long have you heard about the brand acquisitions possibly before booking? How long have you heard of our company? The reason why I do that is because it helps me understand how much familiarity they have with me and sort of the company that they're trust towards us. It makes a really big difference because I know at the end of the call if they're going to give concerns or not. So when you do things like that, it can really give you a place to expand and create more of that knowledge gap. So that's what I mean by that. But once you do this right, they're going to ask you, hey, come work for me, or how can we work together? Or 2, they'll kind of get to no man's land where they'll keep asking you questions and your sales intuition will kind of tingle as to maybe I can make an offer for this person. So you can ask to actually go further in helping their business. So regardless of which direction the conversation goes, if it's 1 or 2, you need to have a strategy to be able to actually bring everything together into a coherent plan. Even if they say, hey, I want to work with you, I want you to come work with me. I've worked with plenty of people who have struggled with the negotiations process or had people that are just really love them as a person. But just because they love you as a person and you've moved the deal emotionally does not mean that someone's actually rationally ready to give money to you. I have plenty of friends that I really like spending time to, but I wouldn't give money to because I don't understand the value of what they give me. Does it mean I don't like them as a person? Absolutely not. But it just means I'm not going to pay them. And business owners are the same way. And you should probably be too. I mean, if you've worked really hard for money and you know how hard it is to accumulate capital at times, you want to protect it. And so that's where you really want to be able to have a clean and coherent strategy so you and your client have really well set expectations. So this is where you should have a client diagnosis process to help uncover the pain points so you can actually solve with your sales ability. So this is where really the next steps, right, for your client is going to be a proper diagnosis. So where you're going to go, regardless of whether they want to work with you work with them, is proper diagnosis. So regardless of how developed your client is, they could be at $30,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $100,000 a month, $500,000 a month, $1 million a month. A proper diagnosis process will help uncover more problems that you can solve and help create more value for your client. And the reason why we don't want to close consulting deals the moment that a possible client seems happy is because we can use their desire to ask for more. And what I mean by that is that a proper diagnosis can be turned into a series of problems that will be fixed over an extended period of time that you can charge for. If someone really likes you and enjoyed your performance and enjoyed what you did, they'll give you a one-time payment of hey man, here's $1,000. Thanks for helping me out. I really found that valuable. But you don't want that. What you want is cash flow. What you want is a business. What you want is a consultancy. You want to do more than just offer help them one time. And so by being able to diagnose them, hey, if you found this really valuable, let me look at your business and I can talk a little bit more specifically to what we can do to kind of fix things, or I'm not too familiar with your numbers. So would you mind if let's actually look at your numbers a little bit and figure out how we can fit this into your business properly. Now, you can use these diagnoses to clearly justify $3,000, $5,000, even $10,000 a month client simply by taking the time to create a concrete strategy that will help them grow. So to get the exact diagnosis process that I use to sign a $10,000 a month client, also $3,000 and a $5,000, join my free group, which is Closers into Consultants. I could make this video, it's already 20 minutes long right now. I could make this video probably an hour long, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. I just want to explain how you kind of go to market and get clients. If you can close a deal off of this, that is great. But if you want what comes next, which is the actual to diagnose them, so you can position yourself to actually close the deal for a solid $3,000, $5,000 to $10,000 a month, this is the same process that I've used and our students have used. I'm giving it away to you guys. Inside of this group there's going to be a mini program where I explain the start to finish process just for doing the diagnosis. So if you're curious to learn more, if you click this link here, it's going to take you to my group Closers into Consultants. If you don't already have an account on School, if you join here, it's going to ask you to set up an account. There's a couple questions that you have to admit, but once you're in the inside, go to Classroom, the program will be there. But okay, I hope you found this guys helpful, and I'll see you on the inside.